Okay, so I know it's the end of the day and everyone's probably pretty tired. So let's try to make it to the point, I guess, and as entertaining as possible. My name's Mary. I work. I'm the operations manager at ZCash Company. We're one of the organizations that is working on the ZCash cryptocurrency, which we'll talk about a little later. All right, so first, I want to go through sort of the questions that I'd like to answer for you today. The first one is, why do I care about privacy? How does this affect me? How can blockchain technology help me? How can cryptocurrency specifically help me? And because I'm from ZCash, I'm going to talk to you about how ZCash can help you. So if I don't answer these questions for you, definitely feel free to let me know at the end of the presentation. Okay, so I'm going to wrap all of this in a metaphor of how you pay for coffee. But before I can tell you about how you pay for coffee, I want to talk to you about this weird group of people down here, which I'm going to call unknown people or entities that want your personal and financial information. And you might wonder, like, why would anyone want my information? Well, banks and financial institutions want your information. They want to know, are you a good person to get a credit card loan, a business loan, etc. Banks want to know your financial and personal information because they want to market some cool stuff to you, like new accounts that you might want. And by cool, I mean like they think it's cool. You might not think it's cool, but they want to market you fun products that they have. Companies and marketing firms sort of the same thing, so companies want to sell you their stuff. And marketing firms get contracted out by companies to help companies sell you their stuff. The more personal information they have about you, the more they can target their marketing, so that they can market you kombucha if you're not into coffee or whatever. And then the last thing is like governments or government agencies. Why do they want your information? They want to know if you're a criminal. They want to know if you're likely to commit a crime that involves finances in some way. They also want tax revenue from you. So these are all things that the government might care about and why they might want your information. So for some people, this is concerning. For some people, this isn't concerning. Like, hey, these people seem like nice people. Maybe I should just give them my information. Well, let's dive into some interesting use cases of why they want that info. So let's talk about a fun thing, how Target figured out a teen was pregnant before her father did. I think some of you know about this, but the idea is Target, as you know, is sort of one-stop shop for everything. When you have a crying baby at home and you're not sleeping, you just want to go to one place and buy all the things. And Target knows this. And they also know that birth certificates are a matter of public record, so a lot of companies will find out who new parents are and market to them once the baby is born. But what Target wants is to get you in before your child is born, because then they get you into a fun habit. You go to the store, you get orange juice, you get baby diapers, you get formula. You don't have to worry about anything, you're sleep deprived, you go home. Okay, so they got really good at this, though. So everybody who goes to Target gets assigned a guest ID, and when you use your credit card, every single credit card transaction, everything that you buy gets assigned to that guest ID. So Target knows everything you bought and when with your credit card. And they found out some really interesting information, which is that around trimester 2, new parents start to buy a ton of unscented lotion. Around trimester 3, new parents start to buy a ton of diapers and baby wipes and things like that. So with this data, they actually can tell for most of their customers with about 85% accuracy whether or not you're pregnant and what your due date is approximately. So let's go back to this news story. This sounds like a made-up thing, but actually I swear it happened. A disgruntled father walked into a Target, and I think it was Minnesota, and he was really mad because Target had mailed his daughter, addressed to his daughter, but they live in the same house, right? So he got it too. A bunch of coupons for baby cribs and diapers and baby wipes and things. And he went in and he was really upset. He was like, why are you marketing pregnancy products to my teenage daughter? This is not okay. And Target, they apologized profusely in the store, and they followed up about a week later and they called the home just to apologize again. Well, they called the home and the father said, I owe you an apology. There were some things going on in my house I didn't know about. Turns out my daughter's pregnant, sorry. So, for those of you who know about medical data, whether or not someone is pregnant is a very sensitive piece of information that's generally protected by a ton of laws. But in this situation, Target accidentally let it slip to a pregnant teenager's father that she was pregnant. Not the type of thing that is very comforting. So if this doesn't scare you, I'm just going to try to scare you with some other stuff. if Target knows, your employers can know, because Target's able to sell all of that data to whoever they want. That type of data isn't necessarily protected by privacy restrictions as long as they can legitimize what they're using it for. So your employer might know your health status, pregnancy, etc., of various health conditions when you apply for a position. This could be concerning if you don't want your potential company to know things that legally they're required not to ask you about, for example. And then my fun thing, I think this is a joke. I read this article and I think it was joking, but it was actually a very good guide on how to stalk your ex using Venmo. So creepy stalker exes, another group of people that maybe you don't want to have all your financial data. Okay, so this brings me to my fourth secret group of people that want your information, and I'm just going to call them my bad people. So creepy stalker exes, people who want to steal your identity, people who want to steal processing power on your computer to buy cryptocurrency while you're away, things like that. So they can either, if they care about you and they're your creepy ex, like they can just find the information on you. But if they're like an identity thief or they just want to steal credit card information, then they might as well just like pop one of these agencies up above and get the information from millions of people at once. I think some of you already know about some of these hacks, but there's some interesting hacks that we'll touch on later for great enjoyment. All right, so I think we've sort of described who these strange group of people are that want your information. Okay, let's talk about how you pay for coffee, but like in the 80s when people still use cash. So unless we found the cash like on the sidewalk, like you're gonna need to store your money in a bank from a paycheck and then take the money out of the bank so you can pay for the coffee. Well, in order to get a bank account, you have to give them your social security number, your address, etc. So the bank has all that information. They can and will sell that information to other people if they want, or give it out to marketing firms, etc. So now we have an unpleasant point where your bank, who you loved, or maybe didn't, gave your information to some other people. Okay, but then you get your cash out of the bank, and then you like listen to Madonna and drink coffee, and like everything's cool. Okay, but is that really how? Does anyone use cash anymore? Like, I don't. Cool. See, you guys are crushing it. I'm not. But so let's talk about how people normally buy coffee. Usually, you get a credit card because you like those sweet credit card points. So in order to get a credit card, you have to go to a bank or financial institution that will approve your application for a credit card. I feel like you sort of maybe know where I'm going with this. Bad things happen, they can give your information to whoever they want. Next, okay, so cool, you applied for the credit card, you gave your information to Equifax, they probably accidentally leaked it to the public or whatever, but now you have your credit card and everything's cool, except your credit card company also gives your information away to marketing firms. I actually just got a fun letter from my credit card company 2 weeks ago saying, hey, we're now required to tell you, we've been giving your information to marketing firms this whole time, and if you want us to stop, you have to like call this number during like these 3 hours a day. I was like, cool, thanks. Okay, so you have your credit card, and then you give your credit card to the nice person at the cafe, and they put it in their little payment system. I think it's called a payment terminal. Those can and have been hacked. I think some of us know about the Target hack. Actually, I was part of that. That was fun. So yeah. So I guess I'm not giving a lot of love to Target today. Sorry, Target. But those can and have been hacked. So you get your credit card, the credit card terminal, then, actually, interesting fact, what they do is they have to send the information to a merchant processing bank, and that bank is actually the bank that sends the request to the credit card institution. Now they have your information. Okay, now the credit card company has sent it on to their own bank, actually. So the credit card company has a bank that is the one that actually pays out when you buy something with a credit card. And you can see where I'm going with this. There's a lot of rage guys here. A lot of places where your data can get leaked. Okay, but like then you get coffee, listen to some Beyonce, everything's fine. Except that I'm just going to make you more sad by saying all these things in red can and have been hacked. So all of these, not even just the people giving away your data, there's also all these people that are just accidentally getting hacked all the time. I feel weird standing over here, so I'm going to stand over here now. Okay. Oh yeah, here's the fun part. Here's some fun hacks for your Googling adventures. Banks, financial institutions, so JP Morgan Chase, Equifax was a big one that a bunch of people in America got caught up in. Marketing firms and companies. Target had that credit card hack, Yahoo, eBay. Oh, my personal favorite, I think, is RNC files. You should definitely look that up because it's the most hilarious way to leak data. And also, it's a lot of data. And then, scarily enough, the government had an Office of Personnel Management data breach. So everyone who had ever gotten a security clearance, which is millions of people, well, maybe hundreds of thousands. So it leaked names, address, social security numbers, fingerprints, DNA samples, which is like, that's really all you would ever need to just ruin someone's life. So here's some fun things that you might want to Google for fun, I guess, if you're me. Okay, so hopefully I think I've scared you enough. Okay, so now what? So data breaches are pretty common, as well as sort of shuffling data around. And what can I do about it? So first, I just want to briefly touch on this, and this is not related to cryptocurrency at all, but it's an interesting fact. There's this thing called GDPR. It's a law that was passed in the EU, and it covers EU citizens, and it might cover people that are in the EU but aren't citizens, but at least EU citizens. Companies are now required to tell EU citizens how they're using their data and who they're giving it to, and people are allowed to go and proactively say, or are allowed to say, hey, I know that you have my data because you had to tell me, I would like you to go delete it from everywhere. So that's kind of cool, but it's only in the EU. However, some companies in America are doing it because it's hard to tell who's an EU citizen and who isn't by the information you collect on them. But also they had to collect that information for them to tell you that they're collecting it, for you to tell them to stop. So in the meantime, there's some risk there where you could get hacked or the information could get leaked to other people. So that's fun, it helps, but it's not foolproof. Okay, so now I'm gonna get to the point and talk about cryptocurrency and blockchain. So so quickly, and I'm gonna do this quickly because you're at a blockchain conference, you've been here all day, so I'm sure like 20 people have described to you what a blockchain is. The way I think about it is a publicly available and publicly validated distributed data store transactions. And that's like a lot of dense information in one place, but the way I think about it is it's distributed. Well, let's start from the back. Let's start with data store transactions. So a transaction is simply, I gave you $5, it records that I gave you $5. That's a transaction. Distributed means it's everywhere. So there are people all over the world that are hosting a copy of this data store. So that means that if it's not all in one place, it's really hard to go and alter because everybody has a copy of it, and it's been publicly validated by everybody in the public. So anyone can see the blockchain, anybody can validate that it's correct, and everyone can see all the copies all over the world and make sure it hasn't been tampered with. So this is kind of cool for things like cryptocurrencies because a transaction is giving people $5 or 5 Bitcoin if you're a cryptocurrency. One other cool thing is smart contracts, where if you have 10 puppies and I have $5 and I want to obtain those puppies, I can essentially put my $5 into the blockchain, you can put your 10 puppies into the blockchain, and then I get my puppies, you get your $5, everyone's happy. If you don't submit your puppies or I don't submit my $5, the transaction gets canceled. So nobody gets the puppies or the dollars, everybody just keeps what they have. So this is kind of fun and an interesting use case. Now, the thing that should scare you a little bit is, what's this publicly available thing? I thought we were talking about privacy, but like now you're telling me about this cool technology that's supposed to solve my problems, but it's all publicly available data. So good question. Theoretical person who just asked that question. So let's talk about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency that I'm sure you all have heard of. All transaction histories are public. So if you get an address, and that address is just a hash, or just a random string of numbers, but if somebody is able to link that address to who you are, which isn't particularly difficult, then your entire financial history is compromised. You can try to obfuscate this by using multiple different addresses, but at the end of the day, your entire financial history is publicly available, which kind of like defeats the purpose of I want to keep all my data private from Target. So I guess I think of it as like tiers of privacy. So next down we have Monero, which we can go into detail if you'd like afterwards, but at a high level it uses something called self-addresses and ring signatures to obscure the data. The idea is with ring signatures it sort of like bounces around the data to other people who like mess with it, and then at the end of the day it's hard to find out who actually gave the money to whom because it's been messed with. It obscures it, it's not perfect. Which of course I would make that because I work at ZCash, which brings me to ZCash. So ZCash can fully protect the privacy of transactions using something called zero-knowledge cryptography. The word can is actually pretty important here because there's two types of transactions you can use with Zcash. One of them is literally just Bitcoin. It's called a T address or a public, I don't know if they call it public, transaction. So it's not private, but there's another option where you can use what's called a C address or a shielded transaction that does obscure all the data. Okay, so what's zero knowledge cryptography? Once again, there's a lot of detail here that I'm totally glossing over, and we can talk about that later. But at a high level, it's essentially like a binary response. So if I want to give you 5 Zcash, you want to validate that I can actually give you that 5 Zcash, but in order to do that in a Bitcoin type scenario, I have to show you, you have to see all of my transactions before to see that those transactions add up to 5 Bitcoin. With Zcash, what happens is all that information is encrypted, but there's a mathematical proof that's done that says, hey, I validated this for you. She has 5 Zcash, don't worry. And she is who she says she is, don't worry. I'm not going to give you all the information underneath because it's all encrypted, because to validate yourself, you would have to know who I am and you'd have to know all my transactions. That sounds really hand-wavy now that I'm saying it out loud, but I promise it works. There's a lot of detail to go into to explain why it works, but it's essentially a mathematical proof that is cryptographically encrypted, which is also, that's a repeat word. Okay, so this is much better than Monero because you don't have to trust other people to sort of mess with your data in order to hide what's going on. It all happens with the cryptography. Okay, so I said all sorts of magical things about how the world is beautiful and now you can shield all of your financial transactions using Zcash. Okay, what are the problems? Because there's always a problem. One is regulation. So banks and governments tend to think that people that use cryptocurrencies are criminals or want to evade their taxes, which I guess is AKA criminals. So there's a lot of sort of trepidation around allowing cryptocurrencies to be used at your local coffee shop. And so that's something where a lot of the cryptocurrency companies are actively working with regulators and banks and all of that to try to get them more comfortable with the idea that no, some of us just don't want everybody to know that we're pregnant. Like, we don't want to, buy drugs. We just want no one to know that we're pregnant, for example. So that's one issue. The other issue is that most cryptocurrencies really aren't very user-friendly yet. Like, my mom doesn't know how to use Bitcoin or Zcash. There's some issues specifically with Zcash and other technologies that are more, actually it's an issue with all cryptocurrencies, but there's an issue with scalability with pretty much all cryptocurrencies. I think it's Visa does like 10,000 transactions a second or something insane. I don't remember what it is for Bitcoin, but it's like, I don't know, it's like 10 a second, something like that, on the order of 10, 5, thank you. So there's some scalability issues. And also, like, my mom doesn't know how to use Bitcoin. Like, she just doesn't. Until it's as easy as using Venmo, and she's not going to use it. Actually, I don't think she uses Venmo, but I could convince her to. So let's now talk a little bit about the problems. I want to talk a little bit about what Zcash is up to next. So one of the things that we're doing is we have something called Sapling, which is an upgrade of the technology that's releasing around October 28th. It's around October 28th because it's a particular block height. So around October 28th, we're going to have this thing called Sapling that comes out. The idea behind Sapling is that it significantly improves the performance of the cryptography that we're using. Before, if you wanted to use Zcash in a shielded manner, you'd actually have to use a computer. You'd have to run a Zcash node on your computer because it takes too much processing power. What we've done is that we've made it efficient enough that you can run it on your phone. So now people can actually transact money from their phone, which is like how people transact money. The next thing we're working on is a reference wallet, which is essentially a mobile wallet reference that we're going to open source to make it available to other people to show best practices of how to make a mobile wallet that people want to use and is secure. In general, this is all towards increasing adoption of shielded transactions. By far, most of the transactions in Zcash are just using a T address or unshielded because it's hard to use encrypted transactions for these reasons, or shielded transactions for these reasons. So we're going to knock out a few of those reasons and then just work with exchanges and users and hardware wallets to try to get people to use those shielded transactions so people actually are keeping their data private from everyone. And the last fun use case is programmability. So I told you about smart contracts before. You can do smart contracts with other blockchain technologies, but it's not necessarily encrypted. We'd like to add programmability to ZCash so that it's fully encrypted, fully private smart contracts, which are cool for buying all your puppies that you wanted. I think, oh yes. Okay, so let's go back to how you pay for coffee with ZCash, now that you have a cool mobile wallet that you can use. So you get your ZCash, it's in your mobile wallet or in your hardware wallet or wherever you'd like to store it. You pay for coffee and all these people just have to deal with it. So they don't get your information, it's a fully private thing, Charlie doesn't know all this weird information about you. This would be the ideal world. This is like the mecca of let's do privacy. Which sort of just brings me to the general goal of ZCash is to empower everyone with economic freedom and opportunity. So it bypasses a lot of like weird regulation, it bypasses a lot of weird people trying to get your data. So we're just trying to empower people to more safely do what they do day to day. And I think, yep, that's everything I have. So here's some like cool resources for you. Here's my email if you want it. And I'll take questions if anyone has any. Yeah.
How did you start working for ZCash?
How did I start working for ZCash? Man, okay. How did I start? So I worked in software for about 10 years, 8 years, about 8 years now. And I worked with my old chief security officer, is huge into crypto, and also when you work in software, everybody's just super into crypto. So that's where I got involved with the crypto community, just by working with people, especially security people who tend to be super into crypto. And when he started consulting for ZCash, he said, hey, like, I think this would be a great company for you, they're doing some cool stuff. So yeah, I was just working in software, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
If the government comes and shuts down your company, what happens to ZCash?
That's a really good question. So the question is, if the government comes down and shuts down a company, what happens to ZCash? Man, I feel like you're a plant. This is so cool. Okay, so there's something called the ZCash Company, which is what I work for. There's also a ZCash Foundation, and then there's a ZCash wider community. The ZCash Foundation is independently funded outside of the company, and it's a nonprofit that hires developers just to work on ZCash. And then we also have the general community. So all of our code is open source. It's available to the public. The only reason why we exist is because we believe in it strongly and we want it to get worked on and we want it to get improved. So yeah, if the government, we actually have this conversation a lot at work, is what happens if the government shuts us down. And if the government shuts us down, there's a completely independent organization called the Foundation that is funded, and there's also a general community that's just people that are excited about working on ZCash. And one of our major goals in the next couple of years is to get more and more people involved in working on ZCash. So everybody here is working on ZCash. It's cool, open source project. Yeah.
Follow up. On what grounds could they shut you down?
On what grounds could they shut us down? Yeah, so there's a few weird things. So regulators, sort of what I was talking about before, they tend to think that people that use cryptocurrencies are criminals. And so if a lot of criminals are using ZCash, then the government can say, like, this is a tool for criminals, you can't exist anymore. Or they could try to sue us for records we don't have, because we don't have any of these records on people. It's all publicly available. Or there's some weird stuff around the SEC, and this is actually not just for ZCash, but like for all cryptocurrencies, is the SEC could suddenly decide that we are a security and shut us down because we're not adhering to like security policies. So those are some doomsday scenarios. Yeah. Yeah.
So your company is for profit?
The company isn't for profit. Whoa, that's a question. So it's not a nonprofit, so that means technically it is for profit. But
what is your revenue stream?
Yeah, good question. What's our revenue stream? So our revenue stream is actually 2% of all ZCash that is mined goes to ZCash Company. And it's essentially like funding us to continue to work on the cryptocurrency. So that's the only way we make revenue. We don't have products that make revenue right now. So our entire goal is to do work that proves to the community that we are worth it to continue to pay us.
But I thought that's the foundation.
The foundation, yeah. So the foundation also gets another cut. So the foundation, I think, also gets, maybe it's together we get 2.5%, but the foundation also, I think, gets 2% of the cryptocurrency that's mined. So they're separately funded from us, but also by people that mine ZCash.
How did you, so you code it, so if usually the miners are public, right?
Mm-hmm.
So normally when you mined it, the coin is deposited to their address. So how
Mhm.
do you get
It's
that?
actually written in the proof of work code.
So
Yeah.
it gets to designated your address and a part of it goes to their address.
Exactly. So it's written in the code that part of it goes to us. That expires in 2 years as being planned. Yeah, did you have a question back there? I thought you did.
Oh, yeah. I just wondered, why does ZCash exist?
Why does ZCash exist? The company or the cryptocurrency?
Well,
Okay. Well, man, I really thought that this presentation was explaining why ZCash exists. Whoa. Okay. Sorry. So yeah, the point of ZCash is that we think that we have a better cryptographic technology than anyone else out there to provide maximum privacy for cryptocurrency users. The company exists to support that mission, right? To empower the economic freedom of people by giving them a way to purchase goods and services with a fully encrypted cryptocurrency.
So is the platform, did you clone something and then you prove it or you program from scratch?
Yeah, so originally Zcash is a clone of Bitcoin. So the question is, did we clone it? Originally Zcash is a clone of Bitcoin, so the public part is a clone of Bitcoin. The sort of public transactions, the private transaction is completely from scratch cryptography that we've added on. And I think you had a question?
Yeah, so what happens after 2 years? You had mentioned that after 2 years, it sounds like you stop with the 2.5% of all mining going to the ZCash company and foundation.
Yeah, so we're actually trying to decide what to do about that right now. There's lots of options on the table. I think a lot of them came up with ZCon Zero, but it's like, do we extend the funding for another couple of years, saying like, hey, we did this cool stuff for you, do you want to keep funding us, the community? Hopefully they say yes, right? That's an option. Another option is we could build a product that is profitable and use that money to put it back into continuing to work on ZCash. There's a couple other options out there, but we're actually still deciding. The goal is that we're going to decide on what option we're going to go with by the end of the year, and then in Q1 next year, we're going to start socializing the idea to figure out if the community's happy with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, new person question.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of talk for a while about getting zero-knowledge proofs on Ethereum, but
Mhm.
lately I think it's been more where Zuko almost mentioned that you consider a merge with Ethereum or something like that. Is there any more color you can share about that?
Yeah, the question is, Zuko said maybe we're going to merge with Ethereum. I will tell you, Zuko likes to say things on purpose that are like thoughts in his head. And the reason why he does that is because he wants our cryptocurrency to be stable long term, even in the face of like weird random whisperings and like winds of things in the air. So I wouldn't say I don't think I have more for you on that, other than that's not something that we are seriously talking about right now, but that doesn't mean that's not something we wouldn't do in the future. Yeah.
Do you guys at ZCash or your development team plan on expanding to any other security protocols beyond zero knowledge proofs?
The question is, are we going beyond zero knowledge proofs? So, don't have a great answer for you, which is that the answer is maybe. So, one of the things that we're constantly working on is trying to improve the scalability, programmability, and sort of efficiency of how we can do shielded transactions. Right now, we're sticking with zero knowledge proofs because we still have more room to make it more efficient. That being said, like some of our developers kick around ideas of like new ways to do things or new ways to do cryptography that might be more efficient. So it gets kicked around by ideas, by people that have cool ideas, and also if anyone in the community has awesome ideas of how to make this better, more efficient, while still maintaining high level of cryptography, then that'd be open to it. But right now, like we have more room to get better at zero knowledge proofs. So, anyone else? Yeah.
So the government has always sort of been in charge of our monetary system. So then how can Zcash scale into becoming something that everyone just uses to pay for a coffee?
Yeah, the question is, oh man, I feel like I'm not going to phrase it well, but the question is like, the government likes that we have fiat money. Like, why would we ever be allowed to use cryptocurrency? And that's a good question for all cryptocurrencies. There's some just to give more credence to your question, there's some interesting stuff around the way that cryptocurrencies are taxed. They're taxed as like an asset, like a house, which means that every time you buy a cup of coffee, you have a tax liability for whether or not your cryptocurrency has gained or decreased in value since the last time that you got it. So there's a lot of annoying stuff around regulation, and it is not in the government's best interest to mess with the status quo. So there's a lot of, and it's generally just a lot of convincing. So most cryptocurrency companies, including ZCash, have somebody that's dedicated just to talking to regulators and talking to banks and talking to governments and explaining to them how cryptocurrencies are helpful and how it's not just all used by criminals. But yeah, it's just honestly just continuing those conversations and continuing to get government regulations to be happy about it. Yeah.
I think there's maybe a few like ZK Snark spin-offs, ZK Stark,
Yeah.
the Bulletproofs.
Yep, bulletproof, CK Starks.
Has there been, and then there's the trusted setup versus not, have you seen like any major advances in that cryptography that you're aware of that maybe you guys are working on migrating to next?
So, we are, I think the biggest improvement we're doing is this sapling release that I would encourage you to check out. And that actually is, like I said, at the end of the month. And that's mostly about, we actually completely changed a lot of the guts of how we do proofs. And I have some information on that I can share with you, but we can dig into it a little bit more if you want. But I guess I would say the biggest thing that I would have you check out is sapling, because we did do a lot of advances in our cryptography to release that activation. Anything else? Cool. All right. Oh, yeah. What's up?
I was just wondering.
Oh, no, sorry. Oh, I was pointing at him. Then we'll totally get to you, I promise. Yeah, what's up?
You're next.
Oh, okay.
So again, privacy,
Mm-hmm.
the main reason for ZCash.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that I can't look anywhere on a blockchain and discover me using ZCash?
Yeah, so if you use shielded transactions with ZCash, right, because there's an option to use unshielded transactions, but if you use shielded transactions, then the only thing that you can see by looking at the blockchain is the amount that was transacted. And you can't see the originating address, you can't see the receiving address, it's not the amount, sorry. The only thing you can see is the mining fee, like the fee that miners get for adding the transaction to the blockchain. But you can't see anything else, so no, they can't see your address. Yeah.
Are you guys building anything for quantum resistance? Are you guys like worried about that at all? Is that
When you say quantum resistance, do you mean ASIC resistance?
no, like quantum computing, like
Oh.
with that approach, like how do you guys think about that?
No, that's like way beyond what we're thinking about right now. The question was, are we doing anything about quantum computing? It's like, no. No.
I think Zcash is quantum safe though.
Yeah, I don't think we're doing anything specific about it though.
The algorithm would be resistant to quantum computing as we know it today.
Yeah, that might be true. I'm gonna have to look that up because I can't remember. That's not a question I've been asked before. So. Yeah.
This kind of goes along with that. Are you guys using any like in-house rolled encryption, or is it just the way you're using it? Like you haven't developed a new like encryption standard or anything that you're using in-house. You're using common encryption algorithms just in your own way, right?
That's a very good question. Yes, yes, that's exactly what we're doing. So we're using things that are like encryption standards that already exist in a new way, basically. Yeah. Awesome. Well, let me know if you have any other questions. I'm here for a little bit.